Alright, I wanted to go over the high poly to Unity FireAxe project real quick. So with this, we have the low poly of the FireAxe, and we can already check and see that it already has a UVs laid out. So the first thing we need to do is make a high poly version of this axe, because right now if we smooth it, it's just going to look kind of lumpy. So what I want to do is go ahead, take the model, do a Command D, duplicate it, slide over a copy. Alright, so what we need to have happen is we need to hold on to the edges on this handle and then hold on to some of the edges that are on the axe head. So if we hit 3, you'll see that we have lots of lumpiness going on here that needs to be straightened out, but the rest of it looks alright. So what I'm actually going to do is come over here and we'll go to some edges and go to my modeling toolkit, and I'll give myself a bevel. Lower that fraction down a little bit. What is it, 0.25, looks okay. And we'll add a couple of segments there. So then if we hit 3, yeah, it's going to smooth alright. And then there is another detail spot we can add right here. And this one I'm going to do with creasing. So I'm going to go to Mesh Tools and Crease Tool, and then use the middle mouse button to create an edge here. So if I hit 3, I can see how it'll sharpen or smooth that edge. And so I want to just add a little bit of a bevel to that, keep it a little more, make it a little sharper. Alright, so now for the axe head, alright, if we hit 3, you'll see that we have these edges, that are fairly lumpy, kind of going around here. And what I'm going to do is I'll use the same creasing tool on it. So we'll select these edges here. These edges here. Around both sides. I think I'm actually going to need to add some. This will work. And so we'll add this, this, and this. And if I hit 4, you can see I pretty well have everything selected. 5, hit 3 to smooth, and then with the crease tool still activated, we can middle mouse drag that, and it will really kind of give us a lot more resolution here. So what that's going to do is help create a better bevel along the edges of this axe, and that way it will have a better appearance. And so this is still looking rounded, so let me go back to edge. And this is the advantage creasing has over bevels, in that if you miss an edge with bevel, then you have to undo the action, and then you have to go back and redo all your bevels. With creases, because they're not kind of a non-permanent, you can go back through, reselect other edges, and then adjust it so that to get a better appearance. So maybe I don't want this to be completely round, maybe I want, or square, maybe I want something kind of in between, and I can tweak that after the fact. Okay, so now that we have the X looking kind of nice, right? Let's see if I can see something real quick with this edge here. Yep, tighten that up. Tighten that up. Definitely keep this crisp. Okay. Matter of fact, this line here across the top, it's not necessarily hurting anything as far as being creased, but I'm going to go ahead and uncrease that just so that it's not going to create any kind of a normal issue. Same thing for this back here. Yeah, that works. So let's smooth that and then resharpen that. There we go. Okay, so now we have the completed axe, high poly. So what I want to make sure of is that these two axes are now, holding onto the same world space. So where I've translated this X, I want to go back and hit 0, and that will recenter it. Actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and smooth this. So I want to go back into, hit 1, go back into the regular mode, and I'm going to do a mesh and smooth. And we'll add about 3 divisions to this, so that we can kind of see how the geometry is going to look. And then for this one here, mesh and smooth, definitely add about 3-4 divisions here. Okay, and that'll give us a large amount of resolution in order to bake the normal. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go one more on that since it's a little more manufactured, right? So we want to make sure that's nice, crisp looking edge. All right, so now the last step that we can do to kind of help with this process is I want to assign 2 different materials here so we can use this as a mask. So I'm going to click the handle, go to assign new material, and we'll just do a Lambert. Go over here to Lambert 3, color, we'll just make it a blue. And this one, we'll go assign a new material, Lambert. Red's just fine. Change the color to red. And now we have a colorized, which we'll use this for the mask. So edit, delete all by type history, go to my channel box, take my translate, set it to 0. So now it's back to the world space, and then we can go and file, export selection, just replace that. So go FireX, high. Export selection. Alright. Alright, so now once in Substance Painter, we want to go to File, New, and select Template. We'll do a Unity. We can do the HD render pipeline, but just the standard PBR is just fine. So we'll just do PBR metallic roughness. That's fine. Document resolution 1024, 2048. I'll just stick with 1024 for the moment. Normal map should be OpenGL, and select our file. Add our low UV. Hit OK. And that will load in our low poly X with our basic light material. Alright, so what we next want to do is we need to bake our texture maps. Right? So run over here to texture set list. Okay, we have our main shader. We have our layers. And if we bring this down, we'll see our channels. And we have this thing called mesh maps. So I want to bake a mesh map. Output size 512 for the moment. Leave all this kind of as default, but I want to make sure I turn off everything except for the normal. And our high definition meshes. I'll hit the open button on that, and I want to select my FireX high. Alright, and then do a bake selected textures. Should bake pretty quickly because we only created one map, and you'll be able to see it update here. So for the most part, it looks pretty good. It's going to be subtle, but the main thing you're looking for is going to be, well, right along here with having a better looking beveled edge to it. So I'm going to check this so we can go to display, and instead of material I want to go to single, and I want to go to normal, or in the case of mesh maps, normal, and we can actually look at the way that it looks here. Okay, and so we can see that for the most part, this is looking pretty good. There are a couple artifacts, but this will do all right. Okay, so if that's looking good, then we'll go ahead and change the output size. I'll go to 1024, and we will change our anti-aliasing to at least 4x4, and then we'll go ahead and bake select it again, and that gives us a much nicer looking map. Okay, got more anti-aliasing here, got a better resolution. Alright, so if that's looking good, then we can go ahead and just turn everything else on. Okay, and in this case we have an ID map, and we're going to use the material color since we added a material to the to the axe, we want to use the material that's assigned to that high poly in order to generate what's called an ID map. So I'm going to go ahead and bake select the textures. Alright, now that all the maps are baked, I'm going to hit OK, and you can see that all the map channels are now filled: thickness, position, curvature, ambient occlusion. All these will be used by the different filters and the different generators in Substance Painter for making our textures. So what I want to do is go over here to display again, change the view mode back to material, and our axe will be unchanged. However, it'll be much more complete. So now we're done with the high poly. Let's go ahead and texture this really quickly. So I'm just going to do a basic 2 material setup on this. So I want to go to Smart Materials. Under Smart Materials, we have steel painted, a couple of different steel painted ones. And let's just try this. Let's try the second one here. Drag it in here. Steel painted chip dirty. That seems like that will work pretty well. And so you can see that it's giving me a nice painted edge, or it's a nice painted material with some edge wear. I can try the other one as well, so we can check out steel, regular steel painted. That might be a little too clean. And that's painted clear coat. Really kind of like the edge wear on that. Rough, damaged. Oh, that's looking a little nicer. Scraped and dirty. Scraped green. Worn. Definitely has a lot of has some rust, some paint fade. Maybe not quite the edge where we're looking for though. So I think what I'm going to do is just stick with this clear coat, but instead of clear, we want something to do with this coating. So take this coating, and we will look at the properties here. So go into this, and then this other folder that's under this coating. So the coating controls the application, and under that we'll find this thing that says Underpaint. And under Paint we have a base color, and then I'll just modify this base color to be more of a dull red. Alright, and as a matter of fact, that's way too shiny. So we should be able to tweak that value as well. There we go. So not quite as shiny of a, highly reflective. Now we kind of want a duller, kind of faded paint. Okay, cool. So that applies this steel painted clear coat, okay, to the entire object. But we want to change this handle into something else. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go down to one of these walnuts. Wood ship. Okay. Does that say wood ship whole Nordic? Okay, what does this look like? Okay, alright. So, got this kind of neat looking aged wood. It's being applied to everything, but main thing I want to do is we want to go in here and we have a pattern. That pattern will give us our stripes. And I'm going to go to rotation. See if we can change the rotation of this. Alright, so changing some rotation of some of these wood fibers, patterns. That way we can kind of change the way that it looks, so that's a little more on the lengthwise of the handle. Okay. And it just modified a few things with the scale, something like this, a little rotation. Again, just kind of tweaking some values. All right, so the next step, once I have something looking halfway decent, is we need to add a mask. So I'm going to right click on here. I'm going to add a, we'll just start, we'll add a white mask. Okay. And then I want to add a mask with color selection. Boom. So this color selection gives me a little box down here where I get to pick a color. And that color is going to use our ID map that got baked in. So we had the red and the blue. I want to click on this to select the blue. And you can see that it has now changed the UVs so that our wood is only applied to the handle part. So in order to show it, I want to drag this below. And then now we have the metal here and then the wood here. Now to export this, okay, what we'll need to do is we'll go to File, we'll go to Export Textures, and we'll change this to New Folder. Put it in here, folder. All right. And then change this from PBR metal roughness. We want Unity. We'll just do standard metallic AO. Either that, or we could do the universal render pipeline. But I'll just stick. We'll stick with. We'll do. Yeah. PNG is just fine. Lambert 1, and then we'll go ahead and export. And so it will export our Lambert, or metallic, or normal inner AO. All right. So from there, we can go into Unity. And in Unity, I've already created a FireX folder. I'm going to drag our low UV object in here. And I can drag that into my view to where we can see the object here. As a matter of fact, one thing I will change is the model size. Let's change that, say 25 times. Hit apply. And then now we can see it a little bit better. All right. E. There's my directional light. There you are. There. This. 0, 0, 0. Light. There we go, so we can see what's going on. And then we just need to create and assign the material. So I'm going to go over here, go to Create, and Material, FireX, and then we need to get our maps in and assign them. So we have our folder, and we have our maps that were exported out of Substance Painter. I'm just going to drag those in the folder as well. And everything's looking pretty good. Go ahead and take our normal map here, change that texture type to normal map, hit apply. And then we just need to assign things. So color goes into Lambert. This is the AO. So we'll drag that into occlusion. This is going to be metallic. Grab that there. And then last but not least, our normal map here. And so you'll see that it should have the effect we're looking for. Drag my material onto both sections. And there is our FireX. So we can look at it, check it in the light. But there we go, low poly to high poly workflow between Maya, Substance Painter, and now Unity.